Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel, hope you're doing good. Today's video is going to be all about bad habits. Now, don't worry, I'm not going to preach about why you shouldn't procrastinate or whatever else is trendy on YouTube right now. I'm mainly going to focus on photography, specifically street photography habits that we get into. Before going any further, do ignore this bird's nest on my head. The barbers have been shut for 2 weeks. Another 3 weeks to go. It's getting worse before it's getting better, and I'm not going to cut my own hair because... no. Now, with these bad habits, I just want to say that it's not something that we necessarily do sort of consciously. I think a lot of it is subconscious, and I still do them to this day. Obviously, not as much as before. As long as you're aware of them, that is good enough in my opinion, because if you're aware of it, you can do something about it when you catch yourself falling into that bad habit. So, without any further ado, let's get into the first one, which is... so when I say rushing, what I mean by that is, let's say you're walking around, you see really nice light, you see subjects, and you just go crazy. So you start taking photos of everything, you're panicking because you're scared you might miss out on the opportunity, you try and take as many photos as you can, and you basically try to cover every angle and every inch of the scene so that you don't walk away having missed out on whatever it is that you're taking photos of. And I honestly think this is very detrimental. Another example is if you're taking a photo of a subject, of a person, and obviously that person doesn't know you're taking a photo, many of us will tend to rush it because we want to get the photo before they might turn around or clock us or something like that. Again, I think that is detrimental, and there is a lot of merit in slowing down. When I say slowing down, what I mean by that is just taking a step back, just rather than running around like a headless chicken, just think, okay, what is actually happening? What photo do I want to walk away with? Obviously, you don't need to have the whole thing figured out in your head, but at least just observe for a minute before acting. Because what I found is every time I was going crazy, I completely fucked up my settings, or I would misfocus, or I would do this, and all of these little mistakes would start creeping in whenever I was rushing. The biggest mistake by far that I make when I'm rushing is composition. I will have part of the subject cut off on the edge of the frame because I wasn't paying attention. The entire image will be just completely skewed and off balance, and by the time I correct it and crop it later, it loses its original appeal when it comes to composition and subject, for example. And most of these little mistakes can be fixed by just taking your time. This is not to say don't work efficiently, don't just take your time and just, just waste time, but efficiency doesn't come from rushing. Efficiency comes from getting good at something by not rushing in the first place. This can be as broad or as specific as you like, but typically it is good to have a direction to go with your photography, and not having anything, in my opinion, is quite a bad habit. Now, this can be on a longer term basis with regards to your entire approach to photography, or it could be on a shoot by shoot basis. So to give you an example, with my stuff, whenever I go out, I typically have an idea of what type of lighting condition I want, what parts of London I like to get the sort of look that I want and the sort of images that I want. I have my own sort of ethical boundaries with regards to what I find is acceptable to photograph and what sort of is a complete no-no. And obviously, I will have like a particular image in my head which would be nice to take or to get, but that's a bit like saying I would like to win the lottery, because at the end of the day you can have everything under control, but ultimately street photography is completely out of control. So my point is, have a rough direction of where you like to shoot, what type of light you like, what type of subjects you like, because not having that means you're just all over the place. And don't get me wrong, there is a time and a place for going out without any agenda and just seeing what happens. I think it's very good. But for each day where you go out and you just don't care and just take photos of whatever the hell you like, you should also have a day where you go out with a specific purpose, with a specific goal, because ultimately that will make you better as well. If you're completely lost with regards to where to start with this, my best bit of advice is make a mini project. A mini project can be about anything you like. It generally just doesn't matter. Okay, let's say it could be about how busy the City of London will get between now, when it's dead, and let's say end of the year, when, touch wood, things are back to normal. In the same way, it could be about, I don't know, if you live by the sea, maybe like that part of the world where you live, you can document the little seaside towns and villages in that particular part of the world, and then you can create like a little project with all of that in there. Basically, make some kind of project which will sort of tie all your work together, and I honestly do think that is a good way of improving your skills when it comes to not necessarily just street photography, but any photography where you're kind of trying to either tell a story with your images or, I guess, evoke an emotion from the viewer. Not planning ahead. This one is loosely related to the previous point, but this is more on the practical side and things you can physically do right now rather than a more of a longer term approach. So let's say if you want very clean, very minimal images, then going to somewhere like Shoreditch or Camden will not give you that result. Instead, you want to go to Canary Wharf, to Bank, to places which have that clean look to them. So my point is, once you have an idea of what type of image you want, then yeah, planning ahead can help you. Another example is light. So there's an app called PhotoPills. I'm sure some of you have heard about it. If you didn't, it's an app where basically it tells you where the sun's going to be in relation to your location and time of day, and obviously date and time of year. So why would you want to use that app? Well, let's say certain streets that you want to get really nice light on, you can see where the sun will be in relation to a particular street. So you can say, okay, at 5 p.m. on this day, the sun will completely line up with this road, which means I will have really nice light on this road. Therefore, you can put yourself in the right place at the right time. And yes, you still have to get lucky with regards to the weather and with regards to the right subjects and the right sort of things coming together. But ultimately, you are sort of putting or pushing or pointing the luck in your favor by putting yourself in the right place at the right time, leaving less to chance compared to just stumbling upon it whenever you're wandering around. Another example is a lens choice. So if I'm going to a market, if I'm going anywhere that's really sort of cramped, then maybe going for a slightly wider lens like the 23mm f2 will be more beneficial for me. Conversely, if I go somewhere, let's say if I hike in the mountains, or if I go somewhere that is very open and maybe by the river, maybe a slightly longer lens like the 50 f2 will be better, because then you can kind of compress the whole image together and you can get the, I guess, subjects that are really far in the distance a little bit closer. Another example actually is camera settings. Planning ahead doesn't just mean the day before. If you're walking around, it's a nice sunny day and the light's going in and out, then maybe have your camera settings to reflect the changing light conditions. Or let's say if you're in the manual, and again, you're outside, it's bright and sunny, and all of a sudden you go into a dark market, then it makes sense to adjust your camera before you go in to compensate for the fact that it's going to get darker, rather than panic when you see the right subject or the right image, have your settings completely all over the place and mess it up. So, plan ahead as much as you can to basically get more lucky when it comes to street photography. So with this bad habit, you're going to call me a contradicting bastard, because I am going to now tell you not to worry about the end result, the end image, and the end goal. And the reason for that is because at the end of the day, unless you're a professional photographer who's getting paid for photography, chances are, if you are, you're probably not watching my videos because this is not who it's aimed at, but I digress. If you do this for fun, like we do, then it's very easy to get stressed out and worry about getting the best image possible, and in the process, ruin the experience of walking around and taking photos. I am a very big advocate that the experience of photography is more important than the photos themselves, because if you like the photos but you don't enjoy the experience of doing it, then to me just defeats the whole point of photography. But anyway, that's a whole other topic. My point is, don't get so stressed over getting the perfect, amazing photo that you just completely ruin like being in the moment and enjoying the process. Because if you get yourself stressed over that, then you're not going to enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, then you're not going to maybe pay as much attention or notice certain things when they are happening. I know, again, this is a bit woo-woo type thing. So a practical tip is take your camera, take the smallest, lightest prime you might have, go out and just take photos of random shit that you just don't care about. Stuff that you would typically delete. Whenever I felt frustrated that I'm not getting any good photos, or I'm just generally frustrated with where I am with photography, I'll just literally do that. Go out, take some random crap, just doesn't matter, because at the end of the day I can just format the memory card and it's all irrelevant anyway, and then I end up enjoying the process again and in turn get better photos. So yeah, don't over stress about getting amazing photos, just try to enjoy the process, and then the amazing photos will come when you enjoy the process. And finally, it's being antisocial. I am probably the worst at this, because for me, the way I enjoy photography the most is to have music in my ears and then just walk around on my own, zoned out completely, relaxing, listening to music, listening to radio, listening to ebooks, podcasts, you name it, and taking photos. I know some people call that blasphemy, you should be in tune with your environment, but whatever, I don't care, everyone's each to their own. However, I also know that certainly over the last probably 2-3 years, as I've got to meet more people in the space through social media, I have certainly been made aware of how other people take photos, how other people edit, how other people work in general. And from a practical perspective, it's fantastic to meet up with others on the same sort of path as you, and then share, knowledge, tips, and generally see how other people work. Because in my experience, it's a win-win, because both people end up learning something new and both people end up getting better. I think I've covered pretty much everything. Now, again, I still make all of these bad habits just as much now, probably as I did a year ago or two ago. I'm just more aware of them. So whenever I do feel myself sort of going into that habit, I kind of pull myself out a lot quicker than I did before, for example. Right, that's it. That is it. Thank you for watching. I hope you are good. I hope you have a good day. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.